Hi, I'm Jennifer Trouton. I'm a visual artist based at QSS Studios in Belfast. I'm primarily a painter. I would call myself a still life painter. I make work that deals with issues to do with gender, identity and class. My practice in the last 10 years has been slowly expanding to incorporate more materials like embroidery, textiles, wallpapers, very much materials of the domestic that some would consider kind of feminine or women's craft. The piece that's in the Crawford here, called Made in Natura, the Abortionist garden embroideries, were made during lockdown. I hadn't planned to make them, but I found myself temporarily living with my mother and my young son and homeschooling, and I had no access to my studio, I had no access to my normal materials, my paint and brushes, which are primarily my tools. And I found myself going a little bit stir crazy, and I really quickly realized I needed to do something with my hands. I needed to make. And I kind of looked around me and I had some embroidery materials, and I had experimented with embroidery when I'd been living in China in 2019. So I thought, I'll give this a whirl, I'll go back and try and do embroidery, mostly just to kind of occupy my hand and my brain. And then the question was, what am I going to embroider? And before the lockdown, I had started doing a series of watercolours, also in the Crawford collection now, called Made in Natura, the Abortionist garden. And they were of abortifacient plants that women in Ireland would have used to end a pregnancy. So I thought they would lend themselves very nicely to embroidery because they're botanical, and that would be very much seen as a very traditional subject matter for an embroidery, flowers. So I found myself, in a very traditional way, sitting at night in my home embroidering these plants. But the subversive nature of it is that these are not garden plants, these are not beautiful plants, this is not me celebrating the art of the botanic. It was me embroidering these plants that women used in this battle for autonomy for their bodies. So it felt slightly subversive, but also traditional at the same time, sitting at home in my front room very quietly embroidering, trying not to think about the world and what was going on around us because it was a very stressful time. And in the end, I made 32 of them to accompany Made in Natura, the Abortionist garden watercolours, which are also 32, which is symbolic of the 32 counties.